Hi Scorpio, welcome to your July reading. Okay, so the mind is changing rapidly and it's changing about everything, but mainly about where to live. You're going back and forth. Doesn't have to be because you don't feel safe, but for some reason, home, moving, should I stay, should I go? It's just consuming your thoughts. You can't tell what the right way to go is. You can't hear the difference between your fear and your intuition. It can be really scary to be in the Seven of Cups energy, but I'd like to point out that mainly it's because you're changing your mind so quickly. And that really doesn't have much to do with you. That's the astrology. So we're confused, and this is not the good state of mind that we're looking for to make a decision. It's not the right time to make a decision. It's not the right time to sign a lease. It's not the right time to decide to move. But thinking about it, changing your mind a million times, that's okay. Just as long as you're not signing on the dotted line anywhere. Okay, so there's that. This confusion also applies to your interpersonal connections. There is and has been a lot of upheaval over the past few months, and people that you were really close to, depended on, trusted, have shown you that you may not have known them at all. And unfortunately, the closer the connection, the more poignant the betrayal right now, the more it seems, the closer you get to your inner circle, the deeper the deceit feels. Now, it's not just that there's chaos in your connections and lack of trust. There's also all sorts of other intrigue. And it does feel, for a little while at least, towards the end of the month, as if everyone is vying for your attention, your affection, but you're just not really that into it. Even someone from the past that I think that you really thought you wanted, no, you're just not feeling it, and you don't feel like making a commitment right now, which makes sense, right? We've been shuffling forever, and the only card that's come up is the Seven of Cups. Like, you just don't know how to maintain your strength with how you're feeling right now. And so I think you've learned with time and experience just to be quiet when you don't know how to properly garner your strength. And that's what you're doing. You're trying to salvage whatever dignity you feel like you have to hold on to. And a big part of that includes not committing to anyone right now. And there's a lot behind that, it's not coming out of nowhere. But whatever it is that's back there, it's not that you're not aware of it, you just don't want to deal with it right now. And you know that being in a love relationship exacerbates this sort of thing, especially when you're not willing to deal with it. Now, for those of you who are already in an established bond, this can be more towards where to live and how to make a situation work with someone that you live with. And the same doubts are coming up, the same lack of wanting to share. Okay. Now, Venus retrograde for you, it gives you a chance to evaluate commitment. And this is where you really start to feel after the 23rd and all the way until September, you really feel that you just want to be free. You want to be unattached. You're just not having the pull, and I often joke about this, but Scorpios don't really feel like being in a relationship until it starts to get cold. It's very, very warm right now, at least in the northern hemisphere. Sorry about the middle of winter in the southern hemisphere. But you don't feel like even like very important people from the past reaching out to you, and you're just like, where were you You know, there's a deep sense of where were you when I needed you. Yeah, it's nice that you're here now, but I don't need you anymore. So, you're dealing in your own way during this retrograde with balancing your scales and the trauma that you've experienced recently. You know, it's not easy when you don't talk to anyone to deal with things like deep betrayal on your own. You're not going to tell anybody. You don't want anyone to know that much about you. You don't want anyone to know that somebody got something this bad over on you. So it can be hard, you know? Like, even if it was a year ago, 2 years ago, years ago, you know, the full extent of your trauma is not something that anyone will ever know. And in that, there is so much shame, you know. And you're already playing such a high level shame and blame game with yourself, always. It just comes with expecting so much of yourself and really being married to the image that you portray of yourself. So there's so many things that you don't deem as appropriate behavior for yourself because you do see yourself in a funny way as like a standing role model for the people around you, which, you know, it's very appreciated, but there's a lot of ego involved there. And it holds you back, and it keeps you down when you feel like you've made a mistake or when you feel like you've failed at something. But we want to be careful that having a bad taste in your mouth about relationships and commitment right now doesn't translate into you never wanting to be close to people again because you've had a bad experience. Because, you know, once you get in a certain zone, it's hard for you to get out. It takes a lot to pull you out. So we just want to be really careful that we don't slip down this very slippery slope of isolating because we feel like we can't trust people. It's always right there for you, you know, so we just want to be careful. Now, when it comes to health and activity, it's the complete opposite. No sluggishness there, no lack of commitment there, no hesitation. You are all for it. You are so excited about it. You want your alone time. You want to work out and be happy and gain your strength and feel strong in your body and feel strong in your mind. You're really excited and wanting to, you know, like get some of this energy out, move your body. It will help so much with processing whatever has been looming in your mind. It's such a good idea to sweat it out. It's so good. It's so good. And again, if you're like kicking yourself because this is like, oh, I should be over this by now. This trauma isn't even new trauma. It doesn't matter if it's new or not. What matters is that Cancer season is making you deal with it, and Leo season is going to pull you out of it and say, hey, you're allowed to go on with your life. You're allowed to live past this pain. You know, some of you think the pain is too recent. You know, some of you are still in the midst of the pain, the chaos, the betrayal, the back and forth. You're thinking, I'm nowhere near being over this. I'm nowhere near being healed. I'm nowhere near wanting something new or different. Just wait. Just wait. When you start focusing on your health and getting some physical activity, I think you'll notice how quickly your mood changes and how you start to dissipate a lot of these emotions that right now you feel are stuck in you, but really they're like stuck in your muscles. They've been stuck there for a long time. There's a big purge happening for you, it feels like. So you can sense that something is holding you back. And you know that it's in you. You're not judging anybody and you're not blaming anybody for this. you're not blaming any past experiences either. You know something is holding you back, and you're very willing to do the work and commit to yourself to figuring out what it is. Whereas you're not at all ready to commit to somebody else. You're very ready to commit to yourself. And this is the opposite of how it's been for a long time in your life. So it's really impressive. And I'm sure your inner child is just so happy with you for choosing it, right? But you can figure out exactly what settings are holding you back, which psychocybernetic settings are holding you back at this time. You have great insight into how to make it to the top and what exactly you do or don't do that keeps you from making it to the top. So the end of July is really insightful and calming for you because it takes the pressure off of all this like heart stuff and emotional stuff, and it puts the concentration on what you want, which is like healing your interpersonal relationships, money, becoming even more stable, and using that stability to build even deeper connections with people, and using those deeper connections to make even more money and to learn even more, to create, you know, legacy, wealth, stability. Like, your head is in a very, very good place. And I would go so far as to say that perhaps it's because some of the things that were keeping you small, the universe took out of your way. And so you had no choice but to expand into the space that they used to take up. And although that expansion may have been really painful at first and felt like dying, now that you're filling up your entire space instead of giving half of it away to someone who doesn't even deserve it, or even more than half, whether it's in your mind, your heart, your home, whatever it is, now that you're able to safely take up all your space, I think you're beginning to think not just a lot more long term, but you're beginning to think in a much more optimistic way about the long term, because you can actually see and believe and feel a future outside of this like isolating thing that you were in, which was keeping you very, very small. Now, whether that's a relationship or some thought process you're having about yourself, it doesn't really matter. The point is, in July, you see it. You either feel the absence of it already and you're like, oh my God, I thank God that's over. Or you feel it and you go through it and you're able to pinpoint very easily the things that keep you from feeling beautiful, feeling good, feeling capable. And it's like, you know that these things need, but even before you get these downloads and you're like, okay, I need to change this stuff. It's like even before that, weeks before that, in the month, you already know that you're not ready for a commitment, because you may not know what you have to work on yet, but you're cognizant enough to know that there's work to be done. And there's something really beautiful and responsible about that. People may not take it that way. People may be a bit in their feelings because they want what they want from you, but what's new. But you taking the time for yourself hopefully will also show them that they should be a lot more gracious with you and have a lot more compassion for, you know, your time and your space, because you do give so very much. So for you to have such an intensely personal problem and not have the room and the space to give to the people around you, you know, you're going to get a lot of different reactions for that. But this does seem like something that you need to take care of, and you need to get to the bottom of, and you need to let go of, and you need to understand that the letting go of it is very healthy for you. And that, you know, kicking open the doors to your life is a very healthy thing, and that it feels really, really good and is something to be afraid of. This is something you need to do for yourself. And if you need to put the world on hold for a couple of weeks to do that, or if you need to gently push people back, you know, via text or email or whatever, to give yourself a little room to do this, do that. Because once these doors are kicked open and you see things as they really are, the first thing that you focus on, or the thing that immediately becomes your focus, is just success and getting you and yours into a situation where it's long-term wealth, legacy wealth, so you don't have to worry anymore. You don't want to you're put off now by time passing and worrying and worrying and worrying that comes with time passing. You want to do things differently now. There's a lot of growing. Ooh, excuse me. There's a lot of growing up going on in Cancer season. Everybody's growing up in their own way. But I think for you, growing up is about, and this is going to sound a little harsh and maybe it's a bit of a cliffhanger to leave you with this and then go into the extended, but I think for you, growing up is about understanding that, you know, when someone behaves a certain way, no matter who they are, they deserve the same treatment, and that you can't make special concessions for people and the way they behave just because you love them or you think they love you. If anything, the standard should be even higher for them, not lower. It's a big part of growing up for you, is like learning how not to play favorites, because it's always so damaging to you. We're going to take a look at the cards. We're going to talk about what I just said. Don't worry. You can find that as an instant link, where the link just goes to your email, Vimeo. There are many, many Scorpio tiers on Patreon. And then there's also links to, there's a meetup tomorrow in Oakland, inshallah. It's going to be super fun. There's a meetup on the 9th in LA, super fun. The tickets for those are below. Bring a friend, super fun. Party afterwards, all in the same venue, super fun. And if you would like a personal reading, that link is below as well. Let's look at these cards. Love you.